Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 40, the beginning of Season 3. If you guys did miss the pre-season episode and the winter break episode where we introduced our brand new feature into this game with the Build the Engine, then be sure to go check those both out before you see this one, as you'll get clued up on all these different driver transfers and team changes, as we now have Alfa Romeo, Haas, we have Sauber fully in the game now with the retro livery, and some exciting transfers with obviously Lewis Hamilton retiring from Formula 1, and we have ourselves a new teammate, 99 rated Pierre Gasly, off the back of a breakthrough Season 2, and of course, as always with Formula 1, we reset to 0, and we're ready to do it all over again. But this season, of course, is going to be very different in terms of some new gameplay and things we have to think about, because we've got the brand new Build Your Own Engine for 2026 feature for this series, where we are investing money and R&D into building our very own engine from scratch for the next season. So we've already paid in 40 million in the pre-season video towards the 50 million to actually make this possible, and we have to do some R&D investment over the course of the season, 12k if we want the best engine possible. Now at the moment we left ourselves that 10 million left over for the engine to give us a chance to invest in some HQ facilities, because we are getting towards the bottleneck of Spec 2 on the aerodynamics, and so with that we're going to be spending 12 million on build time to try and maximize and reduce the amount of time that those upgrades come in. But that also will take us to Spec 3 and will unlock some new aero upgrades, and aero is definitely the place where we're looking at in terms of lacking versus other teams. But at the moment we are going to focus now on investing 2,000 R&D points into the engine. We said this in the pre-season episode, that the strategy right now is we're going to pause actual R&D upgrades for just a moment and try and put some R&D towards this right now. The engine block, fuel systems, and ERS, the low tier, 2,000 each. So right now we've technically purchased one of these areas of the engine, and throughout this season I'll be updating you on my strategy of putting R&D towards this new engine build to make sure we have the best engine possible. But it's going to be a challenge, because whilst that's happening, obviously I still want to be competitive in this season, and that's exactly why we, held some money back to actually buy into the aero side of things, because we start this season, well, technically on paper, slap bang in the middle of this R&D chart. We've also got to, say though, this has been zoomed in, obviously. The actual scaling of McLaren to Sauber, the fuel spread's smaller than it ever has been, and so into this season, things look quite spread out, but it's obviously zoomed in, compared to Season 2 and Season 1. So even though we are middle of the road, we're actually very, very close still to a lot of teams. Ferrari, Aston Martin, Mercedes, Red Bull even. McLaren actually have been the biggest winners over the winter break with that patch coming in for F1 23. So Piastri and Bottas are going to be going into this season probably feeling quite confident of their chances, but it's going to be a big unknown in terms of a very different looking calendar, of course, as we come to the Las Vegas Grand Prix for a season opener. This is going to be a very different opening to a Formula 1 season, and like I said, with the fuel spread being so tight together, drivers are going to make that difference actually, as well as the upgrades. Of course, we are still going to want to bring some upgrades in on the aero side, but I think, us just trying to be as consistent as possible is going to be another key, like it was last season. Myself and Lando Norris in that title fight, we were the two most consistent drivers over the course of Season 2, and that's why we were there as title rivals. So the same has to be gone here, but there's also other challenges that we have to face. Of course, we've got a brand new power unit in the back of this car, no longer powered by Honda, as you can clearly see and probably hear on the engine tone. We are now powered by Renault in that combined broker deal, with a way where we stole Gasly away from Alpine, but also gave Alpine a bit more money on top for the engine in return. And thankfully, to be fair, 3 seasons in, all the engines are quite similar in terms of performance. There's a bit of difference in reliability, and I think we've actually got a more reliable power unit now in the back of our car. And clearly here at Vegas, with the long Las Vegas strip, in that second sector. The engine change clearly hasn't really, hurt us too much in that area. In fact, it may have helped us a little bit. I don't know, because we go P1 in Q1, which is very unusual. Q1 generally for us is usually a bit slower, and it's the opening of the season. So a lot of the time, I'm still getting used to the car. But this car from Season 2, because there's not been a massive regs change. We've got the same chassis, same aero, just switch the power unit. The car, in terms of driving it, I felt very, very comfy with it straight away, and that's a promising first start, but not so much for others, like Mick Schumacher, newly into the Mercedes. He is out in Q1, and other teams like Ferrari as well, not looking too hot. I'm surprised Ferrari were down there outside the top 10, but this is where we're going to really see who's looking great and who's not in this first race of the season. There's a lot of teams vying for only 10 places. There's just not enough spots. I mean, the field spread's so close, the drivers are really making a difference to the point where on my first flying lap, we're actually outside the top 10. This has to be a much better second run. My first lap was a bit scruffy in Q2 compared to the Q1 ultimate fastest lap I did in the previous session. So this has to be better. It is better. Over 8 tenths gained. Green in the first and second sector, so clearly someone's gone a bit quicker. I'm guessing maybe it's going to be one of the McLaren guys. We go across the line, and there you go. It's a 1-2 for McLaren. Piastri and Bottas showing that the proof is there in the pudding from the R&D chart. McLaren are looking so hot this season, and look at that, both Ferraris are out. One of the Alpines has made it through, of Ocon, which again, it kind of follows on from the end of Season 2. Even though they're lower in the R&D chart, Alpine just seem to have a decent amount of pace there. Ocon gets in, his new teammate Ricciardo unfortunately gets knocked out, but that's still quite surprising that both Ferraris are outside the top 10, both Red Bulls are in, both Aston Martins, maybe not as shocking, but yeah, Ferrari knocked out, Russell makes it in, whilst his teammate was knocked out in Q1, so that's a bit of a shock, and that's going to be a bit of a worry for Ferrari. I really thought maybe this might be third time lucky for them. They've started so strong in Season 1 and Season 2. Both times they fell away, and it looks like for the third season it's going to be even worse than that. They're not even going to start very well, so big shame for them, but that's a big positive for others like Aston Martin, Mercedes, and also Alpine having Ocon in this session. And right now he's P6, to be fair to the Frenchman, so that Alpine has just got some pace out of nowhere, just like it was the case at the end of Season 2. It's carried over into this season. This is our first flying lap of this session. Gasly's P7 at the moment, so both of us will want to improve. We go P6. Definitely want to look to improve there. We should be aiming higher than P6 for sure. And the second run is much better. Purple in the first sector, although we're only just over a quarter of a second up. So I don't know if that's going to be enough to really climb up the order, as we're down to P8 now, as others have put in their second lap. I think at this stage, McLaren have got a 1-2 once again, just like in Q2. They're really showing their hand as the quickest team on paper, but it's been a great second sector. It's not the quickest though, it's not purple, but we've still gained so many tenths. We're nearly 9 tenths up on our first flying lap, crossing the line, and it's a big shock to me. It's bloody pole position as the reigning world champion. First qualifying of asking, we've done the job, we've asserted ourselves as the reigning champion. Pole position ahead of two very quick McLarens. Us three, myself, Bottas, Piastri, 3 tenths clear of the rest of the pack. Gasly, though, to be fair, showing the car's actually just got some decent pace around Las Vegas. Maybe it's track specific, to be honest, because obviously if you look at the R&D chart, you'd be surprised at this result, but Gasly being up there in P4, beating the 2 Red Bulls, beating Aston Martin, it's showing that the car genuinely has some good pace there. So for his first qualifying for our team, he's on the second row alongside Piastri. Our old rival from Season 2 gets defeated by his teammate Lando Norris, P6 behind Verstappen, and then kind of expectedly Russell down in P10 in the Mercedes, not looking too great. Surprising that Ocon's up there in P7. That's a bit of a kind of out there one, but for us that's also an outlier. I did not expect a pole position in this first race weekend. We might be on to a very good start to the season. Let's go to the grid.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. Well, tonight we go racing around the bright lights of Las Vegas, 3.8 miles under the Nevada night sky and thousands of neon lights. There are landmarks everywhere you look, punctuating the 17 corners and 2 DRS zones. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. It's the owner-driver then in pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Verstappen, Norris, Ocon, Albon, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Sainz, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Perez, Hülkenberg, Théo Pourchaire, Magnussen, Stroll, Mick Schumacher, Liam Lawson and Logan Sargent. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as once again we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice, and they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
This is a very unusual position to be in. We start a brand new season as the reigning world champions in the constructors and drivers, and we've asserted that straight away by getting a pole position here. This is new territory for me. We're the ones being chased down, no longer the ones doing the hunting. We are the hunted by everyone else who wants to try and overturn us as the reigning champs. Bottas and Piastri along with me on mediums behind. Gasly has chosen softs and Verstappen's on hards. I mean, it's great to see the AI choosing very different variations of strategy and tyres, to be fair, but that's a bit of an odd one. That's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out with Verstappen. Surely that's going to be a slow start for him, and Gasly may have quite a quick start, but he's going to have to make an earlier pit stop. Whether that's going to turn into a 2-stop or just a very long 1-stop on hards later for him, who knows? But I know what I wanted to do, mediums to hards, just go as long as we can on those mediums, and then as soon and hopefully fight off the McLarens, and then try and control it from there onto hard tyres. But this is first and foremost just new territory, staring off and seeing no cars ahead of us for the first race of the season. We're on pole position for the opening round of Season 3 in Las Vegas. It's lights out, and away we go for a brand new season of Formula One, and it's a cracking start for us. We're covering off the 2 McLarens, Bottas and Piastri side by side. Gasly makes a good start though. He's splitting them, it looks like, behind us on the softs, going well, but through this right-hander consistently the AI are so quick through there, and Bottas is all over the back of this. He's pulling out for a move. We go defensive to the inside. We've broken as late as we can. It's a bit of a lock-up, a bit of a slide, and through comes Pierre Gasly out of nowhere. The Frenchman has smash and grabbed 2 positions and got the lead of the Las Vegas GP. It's a 1-2 for our team, but I'm looking at my brand new teammate who's stolen away P1. We were so focused on defending against Valtteri Bottas that we just left the door open on the inside. To be honest, my brakes were a bit cold, like they were locking up, and the rear end was sliding as well, so it was also a case of trying to control that as well, as you're going to see on this replay now. On board from Gasly, there's the little slide for me. I'm going wide. I take Bottas wide with me, unfortunately for him, but Gasly, cool, calm, collected, just gets into P1, and immediately then on the main straight though, we're maybe getting a glimpse of how quick this McLaren is and where their speed and strength lies. And I don't think it's the engine necessarily. I think the McLarens, I think they've got some massive drag reduction upgrades on their car, because I looked at the R&D chart on this race weekend. They're so clear of everyone on the aero side, so that means they've got extra downforce but also extra drag reduction, so their car is very slippery in a straight line. So at the moment we're holding them at bay, but I've used a lot of battery for lap 1 onto 2, and how long can I hold them up for as we go wide into turn 1? Bottas cleanly round the outside. They're just too quick for us mid-corner there. The acceleration is ridiculous, and I also just don't think we have the same levels of downforce as the McLaren team through that right-hander. Piastri's now down the inside. Can we try and outbrake both of them? Go round the outside. Bottas goes wide, and we've made contact with the Finn, and we've now lost another position. Piastri's up to P2, Bottas through to 3rd, and now Lando Norris is up into P4. No damage, but Bottas definitely got the elbow out to just stop us going around the outside of him and his teammate. That was a little bit naughty, I feel, but the game's the game, and Bottas now continuing to charge forwards to try and retake that position from his teammate. Piastri holds off for P2, but we all bunch up close together. Can we make a move? Norris is going to be tucked up behind Bottas as we go through onto lap number 3 into the last corner. We're committed on the outside, inches away from the wall, inches away from making contact with the Red Bull. It's 3 wide between Bottas, myself and Lando. We get the move done on the Red Bull, but Valtteri gets the elbow out once again to very much make use of that new McLaren pace and stay in 3rd place. We're trying our best to split the 2 McLarens, but Bottas is playing a real aggressive game. Again, he outbrakes us through this corner. They're so strong in this first sector. He gets ahead of us, but we're going to commit with ERS. Get down the inside. This is going to be bloody tight on the inside. The blind left-hander to the right. We squeeze Valtteri out. He's off circuit a little bit, and we are skating our way into P3. But to be honest, I feel like it's a futile effort because Bottas is just so quick on this straight. Even the Red Bull as well. I think a lot of these cars have some good drag reduction upgrades. Our engine is good. Don't get it wrong. I think we've actually technically got one or second best engine on the grid. The Renault power unit's a decent performance I saw compared to others. I think it's just the drag reduction on the aero side, and that's why we need to invest in aero and why I bothered to buy that HQ facility upgrade, because we need that Spec 3 drag reduction upgrade at some point this season as we watch Norris battling Bottas, trying to get ahead the Red Bull and its new glitched camo livery, looking pretty damn awesome under the floodlights here. But look at his teammate, Verstappen is going to come through for the triple overtake, maybe? All the way around, no. Bottas stays in P4, but Verstappen makes a double move and gets Albon and Norris, and now he's going to go for that 3rd place eventually and get past Valtteri Bottas. Verstappen, he was sleeping for a lot of Season 2, to be honest, compared to Lando Norris. It looks like he's woken up. He's had enough of being second fiddle to his new teammate, now very much current old teammate. Kind of these 2 pairings seem very familiar now in Season 3, but Verstappen's had enough. He wants to stamp his authority as the lead Red Bull driver, but for Red Bull, unfortunately, McLaren look very, very quick. Bottas unable to make a move then, but I feel like it's only a matter of time before Bottas gets past Verstappen, and it seems like it's only going to be a matter of time before Oscar Piastri is going to overtake Gasly for this race lead. Pierre's been leading for all 5 laps so far, but here comes the McLaren, the Australian with DRS open, up into 1st place. We may have had the pace in qualifying, but in race pace terms, that McLaren is clearly the quickest car out of the lot of us. We're holding up Bottas, we're holding up Verstappen, but for how long? Another thing to note really is I think a lot of this performance is also down to these medium tyres as well, maybe, because Verstappen is on hards, remember, and he's actually having a go at us, and is actually looking pretty damn decent through the corners as we jockey for position and actually have a bit of a ding-dong battle through that tight exit off the back straight of the Las Vegas Strip. Yeah, I maybe should have learned from the past and remembered that really, for whatever reason, I don't think it's a my team, I think it's a me thing. With this game, with the my team car, I just do not really gel too well with the medium tyres. I've gone quicker in previous episodes on the hards compared to mediums, and obviously the softs are the softs. They wear out a lot, but they are the quickest compound, and maybe going on mediums was a mistake as we are trying to re-overtake Verstappen, and we are going to successfully just manage to dive it back down the inside. It was 3 wide momentarily there between ourselves, the Red Bull and the McLaren, but we've managed to do it. But look at the train that we've got. We are just not that great on these mediums. I mean, Gasly is 8.7 seconds down the road. Piastri is now trying to build his gap in the lead, and it just seems like 2 prongs. The tyre choice we've made, and then also, I don't know, maybe this car is just really good in qualifying and the race pace isn't there, which would make a change, because for most of the F1 game history, I've always been a poor qualifier, and then I do much better in the race. So it actually might be quite interesting for a change. Is this going to be a season where I can qualify well, and then the race, it kind of unravels a little bit? We're going to have to obviously see how it unfolds through the season, but right now, it may just be track specific with this long straight, and clearly some very slippery AI cars around us as we have a bit of a copycat battle with Verstappen there as we let him go on the outside, but we ultimately get the better racing line through that tight right and left onto a brand new lap, onto lap 7. Bottas making a move to the inside. They're going to be side by side through the final corner. Verstappen clouts the wall a little bit there. Things are getting very, very close, and we're still making the same mistakes in that corner every time, going wide, getting on the curb, not getting the exit we want, and then through here with the DRS for everyone behind us, they're just going to be so rapid. I'm not deploying battery because I need to save it for the back straight, because if I don't deploy enough battery, then I'm going to be even more of a sitting duck. So right there, we got a double overtake on ourselves, Verstappen and Bottas through, but that's playing a little bit of F1 chess, saving battery for the back straight, hoping to re-overtake both of them for P3. And that's the unfortunate thing about Vegas, because that long straight, you really do have to save battery elsewhere, and that doesn't help you if you're being chased by people with DRS. But it is what it is, and we're playing it as tactically as we can, and staying in P5, staying in the DRS of Bottas to hopefully re-overtake both of them, as Gasly is actually, he's got DRS on Piastri. He stayed within 1 second despite being overtaken. He's gaining, but look how quick that McLaren is. He's gaining with DRS, but he's nowhere near him at the brake zone in reality there. And I think that's just how good the McLaren is. Thankfully for us, Verstappen is holding up Bottas. He pulls in for slipstream and pulls out again. Bottas been held up by Verstappen, and that's going to open up the door for the double overtake. What a dive bomb that has been from us. That was filthy. We were so far back. But Bottas being held up by Verstappen has done us a job there. We're up into P3. It's going to be P2 soon, maybe, because our teammate is in off those soft tyres. But Verstappen's pit as well. It's Norris who's now behind us, along with Albon. Verstappen's pit. For what? Has he got damage? He's on the hard tyres. And speaking about damage, Bottas has just crashed into us as we lost the rear end. Bottas has broken his front wing, and it's a virtual safety car. Because of the debris, we lost the back end. We're actually quite lucky. I don't think I have any damage. I think, oh, we got a little bit of damage. But this is Verstappen coming in. He's not changed his front wing. So Verstappen literally made a pit stop for tyres. That was a planned pit stop. I don't even know what he's doing. He's pit off hard tyres on lap 8. So that's either a very odd one stop, or a two-stop, maybe. Maybe he's doing a two-stop, I don't know. But here's a replay of the crash with Bottas. It's just a very unfortunate racing incident, to be honest, because I lose the back end. And Bottas sees a gap, goes for it, but I'm still controlling my rear end stepping out, and my front end basically closes up on him, and that broke his front wing. We've got a little bit of damage, actually. As I asked my engineer, there's a slight bit of damage on the right-hand side of our front wing, but I don't think it's enough to warrant changing our front wing, so I think we might be all right. Bottas will have to change that wing, and he's so slow right now. He's stayed ahead of us in that virtual safety car period, but he's got no front wing, and he's still making a move on us. Bottas, honestly, we've been in the wars with Bottas here. We've made so much contact with this man, and we've had such aggressive battles, you know, from my side and his side as well. I mean, he's got no front wing, and he's gone for a dive bomb there, and he's now gone past us. This is a piss take. Bottas, look how quick he is. That McLaren is ridiculous. That patch has just made things so difficult. I think this might be the vibe. Like, as much as we might be quick in quali, I think these McLarens are just too quick in the race now, because Piastri 16 seconds down the road. Bottas comes in for that front wing change, but he put up a fight, didn't he, without a front wing even. So Bottas has really got the bit between his teeth. I think he realises how good his car is, and he wants to make the most of it, and he can see his teammate making the most of it right now up in P1. But for us then, we continue on for a couple of more laps, and then we'll be coming in for the hard tyres with a slight bit of damage on the front wing. But like I said, not enough to warrant a front wing change. So we've set the setting to no, so we aren't going to have a front wing change, even if my team think we should do. I'm stepping in and saying no, I don't think we should, because it's pretty much just lime green on the heads-up display. So we're in for a set of hards, and we're going to see where we come out. It's going to be a decent amount of clean air, I think, looking at the mini-map, as we've got a slight fight going on ahead of us. Bottas sets us up at the Grand Prix, and ironically, after all of that, even with Bottas's front wing change, the undercut was so powerful there for Valtteri that he's come out ahead of us still. So we're going to have to re-overtake Bottas, or at least re-engage with him in a battle once again, and it's going to be whilst both of us are closing up to this battle between Carlos Sainz and Nico Hülkenberg in the Sauber. First time seeing the new Sauber retro livery in action here. Hülkenberg actually going for a move on Carlos. What's going on with Ferrari? Where are Ferrari? They were looking so good. This was their happy hunting ground. I think they won this race in Season 1 and Season 2, and now Sainz is down in P20 fighting for the wooden spoon with Hülkenberg as we make 1, 2, 3 overtakes onto lap 12. Cool, calm, collected. Lick the stamp and send it. Easy does it into turn 1, up into P16. Lovely stuff. Got the Sauber, Ferrari and the McLaren in one foul swoop, just with that exit off that tight right to left-hander onto lap 12. But now on this straight, the drivers behind us have DRS, and watch for Bottas as he's overtaking Hülkenberg, but he's going to come steaming in, make some contact with us and push us wide and get up into P16. We lose the position to Hülkenberg, but I'm going to try and go for a re-overtake here on the inside, catch him napping a little bit. Very, very fine, but no contact made. It's actually a lovely little move on the Sauber to get up into P17, but that's the proof in the pudding there. Bottas and me are just in the wars today. That was more contact, and this time it was on Valtteri who made the dive down the inside. We go for the re-overtake. We're going to squeeze him out wide on purpose just to shove him off a little bit and get some air between us to try and push away, because I've had enough, frankly, of the flying Finn. He may have, you know, played a part in the title decider at the end of Season 2, but at this point, just shove off, mate. I've had enough of you. We've had enough of one man. We need to push on and see what we can do in clean air, and hopefully we can start chasing after these guys who are out of sync in the race. Alfa Romeo Haas now as it is, with Sargent, Lawson, the AlphaTauri, Ricciardo, all out of sync, but there is you know, the real fight we're worried about is Verstappen versus Gasly. No, so Verstappen, his early pit stop then on lap 8 has actually been a blinder, because he's up in P3 and me and Bottas are down here. On to lap 14, he's fighting with Gasly. Gasly's just overtaken him for P2, but they're 8 seconds down the road. So Gasly and Verstappen, who I think are both on 2 stops, are flying in this race, and they're way down the road compared to myself and Bottas on what I think is a 1 stop, as this is turning into a real great battle. Look at this, still side by side. Gasly on the outside, Verstappen on the inside. Great camera shot as they both come through that long left-hander into the blind corner, then through this tricky technical part. Verstappen's got ahead of Gasly once again. This is a classic battle. The two former Red Bull teammates now going wheel to wheel for P2, and Gasly finally in Formula 1 has the tools to come back at Max Verstappen, get up into P2, and all the while, look at the gap to Piastri, 13.7. The Australian is absolutely dominating this one, but you know what? The last time an Australian was dominating the Las Vegas Grand Prix, remember Season 2, what happened to Ricciardo? So there's still maybe some hope for us all yet, but we'll see. It is the opening of the season though, so reliability could be a question mark as we've got lots of battling going on in the top 10. Gasly's in the pit, so that's confirming he is on a 2-stop, and unless he had some contact with Verstappen, but I doubt it. So very, very surprised that him and Verstappen surely are doing a 2-stop, because Verstappen can't take mediums that long. Surely not. So that has got to be a 2-stop for both of them, which is great to see, to be fair, seeing the AI doing different strategies. But I'm just surprised here at Las Vegas. I thought it was a nailed-on 1-stop, but there you go. Gasly is using all 3 tyre compounds, soft, hard, and mediums. I mean, he was leading the race at the start by 5 laps. Obviously, he fell away from Piastri, but I felt like he could have just nailed on P2 if he wanted to by doing a 1-stop, but he's going for the aggressive strategy. Verstappen as well, and so with that, we're up into P2 in no man's land. We're nearly 20 seconds back from Piastri in the lead, but we're 4.5 seconds ahead of Albon, who is now in 3rd place, and we've gained that time because, yeah, Albon and Bottas have been fighting, along with Carlos Sainz, who I still think has to make a pit stop in this race, so he's just kind of there for vibes at the moment. And then we've got Ocon versus Mick Schumacher. Now, this is surprising, as Russell overtakes the Sauber of Hülkenberg. Schumacher gets ahead of Ocon. This is surprising because, remember, Schumacher got knocked down Q1, started P20, and he's now P6. P6. So have Mercedes got a bit of secret race pace compared to their qualifying pace in the reverse to our team, clearly, because that's an amazing race so far. And we're actually, you know, quite the way through, only 1/3 of the race to go. So the top 10 are Alonso, Hülkenberg, Russell, Ocon, Schumacher. I'm actually just taken aback, really. I didn't think the two Mercedes cars were going to be featuring in the top 10 today, but really, really good stuff for them. And then look at where Verstappen and Gasly are, way down in what is now P12 and 14. They have got a lot of cars to cut through if they want to make it back anywhere near where I am in P2, because that's where they were on the road before they pit. So they've got a lot of work to do. Verstappen's already going to start that work now on lap 19 into the top 10 for the first time since that second pit stop, diving down the inside of Leclerc to make the double pass on the main back straight to get up into P8. Gasly's made the move on Alonso, but yet to overtake Leclerc. But they are starting that charge, and to be fair, maybe on fresh tyres, they're going to be mighty, mighty quick as we see Russell and Schumacher ahead of Ocon then. So the two Mercs have both overtaken the Alpine car and actually showing the Mercedes might actually have some decent race pace compared to rivals who did better than them in qualifying. But Gasly stuck now in between Alonso and Leclerc. What could have been? You know, I just think Gasly made the wrong call today. He should have just stayed on the hards. I really don't, you know, he is making his way through. He's going to overtake Leclerc here, hopefully, on the outside, although Leclerc gets the elbows out. These two scrapping away. Gasly gets the better exit. He is into P9. As much as him and Verstappen are cutting through traffic, I think it would have been better for him just to do the one stop. This is going to be, it's making life for him a lot harder, but I guess we'll see how it goes as we watch Schumacher defend against Ocon. And this is Russell actually looking to close up on Bottas, which is very impressive to say how quick Bottas has looked all this race. He is being held a little bit by Albon. That's helping me out because we're now 6.7 seconds down the road. That is all thanks to Albon holding Bottas up. If Bottas had clean air, I feel like he'd be all over the back of us, just like he was in the first stint. At the same time, also, got to give myself some credit. Maybe it's the hard tyres. You know, we know this car and myself, we've worked better on hards a lot of this game. So it may just be that as well, as Bottas does get back through past Albon. And Verstappen, look at this, out of nowhere, he's already made the pass on Schumacher and he makes the pass on Ocon. It's a double overtake for Verstappen, who's really making the most of these new mediums. He's up into P6, and I'm really sorry to say, Gasly, the opposite. He's lost a position to Alonso. He's just not that quick on these mediums. And it's the medium tyre, once again. You know, if there was a way to communicate to my teammate, I would have told him, don't bother doing a two-stop onto another set of mediums. Just stay on the hards, man, because he's just not that quick. That kind of proves the medium tyre is really awful for the My Team car, because Verstappen's flying. He's now having a go at Russell, but he's overtaken them both. Verstappen is up to P4 on mediums, and Gasly is floundering in P10 on the same compound. If that is not proof that the My Team car is just awful on mediums, I don't know what is. Verstappen charging his way through. It still won't be the P2 where he pit from. So in the end of it, I just don't think the two-stop was worth it. But it really hasn't been worth it for Pierre Gasly, who's down in P10. He's got to hopefully try and re-overtake Leclerc. He has re-overtaken Alonso, thankfully. But Verstappen is going to get onto a podium. He's overtaken Albon. How quick has this man been on mediums? My, oh my. That is the old Verstappen from season 1 right there. That is some lightning pace. Gasly's thankfully actually managed to pass Leclerc, but it's only for P9. It's only for 2 points versus Verstappen on the podium, 15 points early in the season to kick it off. Yeah, what could have been? What could have been for our teammate? That's a bit of operational mistake. Hopefully we can iron that out, and he can iron that out for himself, of course. But it's frustrating that, you know, so many years into this game, we still can't talk to our teammate and kind of tell him what to do in terms of the strategy. But meanwhile, the man who's nailed the strategy today is Oscar Piastri in a world of his own. A dominant display to begin Season 3. He wins the Las Vegas Grand Prix, and that's Piastri's first win in Formula 1, and he's kicked off the season in style. What a race for him, and at the end, on the last lap, Verstappen is dethroned from the podium. Albon into the last couple of corners, re-overtakes the Red Bull and gets up into third place. For us, it's P2. It's a solid ending, and unfortunately for Gasly, he got re-overtaken by Leclerc, and he's going to end in P10. 1 championship point. He really deserved more, but that strategy was a howler. For us, all things considered, P2 is really good.
And in the heart of the Nevada desert, they take the checkered flag to win the Las Vegas Grand Prix. They've hit the jackpot and will be celebrating long into the night. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving that they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
I'm not going to lie, McLaren's pace looks very ominous. Piastri in clean air, 24 seconds ahead. I know we got caught up in fighting his teammate and lost a lot of time fighting everyone that we were fighting in the first stint, but yeah, I think if Bottas can also get a clean run in a race, I think these two McLarens, they could be very, very worrying and damaging for the rest of us in these early races until, obviously, hopefully some upgrades come in for not only our team, but others to catch them up. But right now, McLaren, they've got to be making the most of it, and Piastri has made the most of it with a race win in some emphatic fashion. Second place for us with the race we had actually feels like a win, to be honest. Little bit upset we didn't convert our first pole position of the year into a win, but it is what it is. McLaren just had way too much pace, and at least we didn't fall away like Gasly. That was a real tough watch for him, and a very interesting outlook. It looks like the real big loser into Season 3 has been Ferrari, who have dropped off down to P7 in the championship. Aston, Red Bull, Merc, ourselves, kind of where we were last season. McLaren, obviously, a big gainer of over the winter break. So, yeah, it's looking very interesting. Very different sort of start to the season compared to last year, so certainly a different one. Even though there's not been a regulation change, it looks like things are going to be very different in this season of F1 My Team Career Mode. Guys, if you have enjoyed that one, hit the like button, let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.